Hello, my name is Andy and I am the village idiot and a man with a car and a GoPro and unhealthy amount of time on my hands. Happy New Year to everybody in Bassetlaw. That's where I find myself yet again today. And this is a lovely little village. This is a nice circular walk as well. And one of the things I think you guys will like is in this church. Now, I don't know whether or not I can get into this church, but I'm hoping that I can, because what's in there I think will be one of the best things I've probably ever filmed. I've said that before. So hopefully it's open. Welcome to Clayworth. Clayworth is a lovely little village and civil parish in Bassetlaw. At the time of the 2001 census, it had a population of 319, which increased to 419 at the 2011 census. The village is located 6 miles northeast of Retford. Clayworth appears as Clavord in the Doomsday Book, where 37 households were registered in the parish, which in the context of the book was considered to be a large population. By 1769, Clayworth appears as Clayworth. Clayworth was described in John Bartholomew's Gazetteer of the British Isles in 1887 as having a population of 439 with 2,076 acres of land. Heinrich Mutschmann, writing in 1913, thought the place name Clayworth referred to the clay soil of the township. More modern thoughts on the name, however, are inclined to the view that the name seems to contain the Old English word clawu, meaning claw, thus Clayworth would mean claw of land enclosure. The claw-shaped feature may be the low curving hill here. A man by the name of Peter Laslett undertook a study of Clayworth, monitoring migration and population changes during the 12 years from 1676 to 1688. Laslett aimed to study how far people moved in relation to their parish of birth. The purpose of the study was to collect detailed data on the residents of Clayworth. The findings from this study showed how 61% of Clayworth's population had migrated away from the village over the 12-year study period. A variety of reasons were suggested, including people choosing to move parish to remarry and spinsters who were not socially tied to the village, although the real reasons are unknown. In terms of population, the highest level reached by Clayworth according to census statistics was in 1841, when 627 residents were recorded as living in the village. At the time of the 1881 census, the biggest family in Clayworth were the Taylors, with 26 people sharing this surname. And during the 60 years between 1901 and 1961, a total of 168 residents left this village. This was the period just after the Industrial Revolution in Britain, when people from small towns and villages internally migrated to developing towns and cities where employment of both men and women was in demand. Clayworth's own industry, due to its rural location, has always been historically agricultural. Agriculture was still dominant in the 1880s, but by that time there had been an increase in the service industry. Advances in technology meant that agriculture became less labour intensive, affecting numbers employed in the agricultural industry, with a shift to new, developing industries. On the subject of industry, a recent parish council meeting discussed a proposed solar farm close to Clayworth and Gringley, the decision being made to oppose such a project. The modern Clayworth village is made up of a nice mixture of both old and new properties. The average house in the village has a value of around £384,000. Demographically speaking, Clayworth's population is spread over an area covering almost 13 square kilometres, giving it a population density of 32.55. There are a majority of white British citizens here, with that figure coming in at 98.8%. Okay, so I'm pretty much all the way around my walk of Clayworth. which means it's time to actually go into the church now and see if it's open, because in there is something I think you're going to love. The majority of Clayworth's local amenities are located 10 minutes away in Retford, but it does still have a few things of its own. Arguably both an amenity and an interesting feature, here's the Church of St. Peter. This could have gone in either section in this episode owing to something pretty impressive you'll find on the walls inside. The church is located along Wiston Road, which runs through the village. Well, it says open. Let's go in and have a look, because in there are some murals, and I am probably going to butcher this word, I'm afraid, guys, because it's really difficult to pronounce. Is it Traquair? Traquair murals, I want to say. Maybe you guys out there who actually know how to pronounce that can help me out. Now, since filming this, I've learned how to pronounce that name. In here are the Traquair murals on the chancel walls. Let's discuss the rest of the church first. The tower, dating from the 12th century, has many old historical inscriptions, and it also has a Saxon base surmounted in turn by masonry with Norman windows and a perpendicular battlemented top. The church was restored in 1874. The oldest memorial here is a floor stone which holds a worn inscription to a rector dating to 1448. Now to the murals. Completed in 1905 by Scottish artist Phoebe Anna Traquair, these are one of only 2 mural pieces by her outside Scotland and are the largest mural work in the East Midlands. They were restored in 1996 by Elizabeth Hurst. Traquair was an Irish-born artist who achieved international recognition for her role in the arts and crafts movement in Scotland as an illustrator, painter and embroiderer. Her works included other large-scale murals, embroidery, enamel jewellery and book illustrations. In 1920 she became the first woman elected to the Royal Scottish Academy. These have to be seen to be believed. The camera won't have given them all the credit they deserve. Now, of course, regular followers will know that as far as churches go, if there's one open these days, I will go in and have a look. But this one was always one of the ones on my list that it kind of had to be open, or else I wasn't going to film this video. And this is the reason why. Now, I was lucky enough a couple of years ago to go to the Vatican and see the Sistine Chapel and the ceiling that was painted by Michelangelo. Now, I know that these are in some way, you know, they're not as detailed or as fabulous as that, I suppose, but they are still really amazing and well worth including in the Clayworth video. Traquair's earlier pre-Raphaelite and arts and crafts influences can clearly be seen in this unique, peaceful environment. If you're ever in Clayworth, I strongly recommend a visit to the church to see these stunning works of art. Bus-wise now, there's a regular service provided by the number 97. Until very recently, Clayworth had 2 public houses. Here's the Brewer's Arms, and the other one was called the Blacksmiths. This was forced to close after the COVID-19 pandemic, and it went up for sale for £950,000. Here's the village hall, also known as the Clayworth Memorial Hall. Like most village halls of its size, this hosts regular clubs like Pilates, coffee mornings, an art club, and there's also a Clayworth history group too. Behind this is a small playground. Okay, so now we've had a look at the amenities of this place. Let's see what it's got in terms of interesting features. Certainly inside the church, those murals are one of them, absolutely. But there are also a few others as well, including Clayworth Hall, which is over there. I won't be able to get anywhere near that because obviously it's a private property. But there are a few other interesting things which I can show you in this village. Whilst the murals are the biggest feature Clayworth has to offer, it does have some other things of note, one of which is Clayworth Hall, which I couldn't find much about other than it being a 19th century building. Here's something that surprised me. Running under the village is a beck, which looks more than a little dry. I never knew this existed. Well folks, I knew this place had a canal, but I had no idea it had a beck. It looks a bit dry at the moment. There is a little tiny bit of water in there, but I imagine that's probably just rainwater. But there is a beck that runs through Clayworth, or did. Certainly not at the moment. If you walk down the lane opposite the church, you'll come to a bridge over a stretch of water, which we've met before. Now you might be familiar with this if you watched the Wiston episode way back when, because this is that same canal. This is the Chesterfield Canal, and I'm going to be walking alongside it yet again on that footpath. Not that way, because that will take me to Wiston. I need to be heading back into Clayworth, which means I need to go this way. The bridge in question is Otter's Bridge, and if you walk over it, take in the views of the open countryside first and then turn left, you're on a canal towpath. This is what I did, and it's well worth it for this peaceful walk. This is the Chesterfield Canal, built between 1771 and 1777 to connect Chesterfield to the River Trent. Barges primarily carried lead from Derbyshire, as well as coal, corn, timber, ironstone and earthenware. Stone was quarried near Worksop for the building of the Houses of Parliament. The canal also carried that by barge. It's known locally as Cuckoo Dyke. It was one of the last of the canals designed by James Brindley, who died while it was being constructed. Here at Clayworth, this stretch of the canal's route manoeuvres around to the south or west of the village, eventually turning left, and then takes a very sharp right as it passes under the next bridge. So much like in Wiston, it's really peaceful along the Chesterfield Canal here. Really peaceful. I haven't seen a single soul since I've been walking along this path. And if you want to come and walk down this section of the canal, just beware at this time of year, it's quite muddy. I've had to pick my way a bit carefully, but it's been worth it because, I mean, it's a nice day and the canal looks nice. I'm just about to come to a bend. Now in this bend, this is where the canal sort of loops back northwards towards the likes of Bringley and eventually up to Misterton. And here on this bend we've got a boat club. Let's go and have a look at that. The Clayworth stretch is part of the Worksop to Stopworth section, which was designated as a cruiseway under the Transport Act in 1968, meaning that it would be retained for leisure use. No surprise then to see plenty of leisure craft in the form of barges along the canal here. These are private moorings. That next bridge I mentioned is the Clayworth Bridge, which carries the B1403. The bridge has a former pub beside it, now home to the Retford and Worksop Boat Club. There's a grassy gap between these buildings, which is now a picnic area. This is accessed from Wheatley Road, which runs parallel to the canal on the east side. Okay, just before we finish this one off, it's time to give you a picture bit, and here it comes right now. To finish, we're back near the church, and to its rear is a small cemetery. This is Clayworth Cemetery, opened around the year 1900 on land historically associated with the rector of St Peter's Church. The cemetery is surrounded by hedges including holly and hawthorn and has a central yew tree lined path. There are various significant gravestones and monuments, including one Commonwealth war grave, Sergeant A. Edwards of the North Staffordshire Regiment. It has a Gothic-style lit gate, constructed primarily of timber set on stone foundations with a plain clay tile roof, above being the inscription, "Through death to life." On the other side is the inscription, "God's Acre." This is a nice, peaceful place to end a thoroughly enjoyable Bassetlaw village, which I highly recommend visiting. Okay, that's the parish of Clayworth done and dusted. Another one down in Bassetlaw. 15 to go now here, guys. It's getting frighteningly close to the end of this big district of northern Nottinghamshire. And I'm off to my next one right now. So for now, this has been the parish of Clayworth, and I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.